So as you mentioned, diplomacy certainly takes many shapes, and there's one form that a lot of people know and associate with China, panda diplomacy. Do you have any stories about the Nixons welcoming the first pandas to DC?
Well, I ended up as both the escort officer for the pandas and their interpreter, as well as the interpreter for the small Chinese team that accompanied them. And I was the interpreter when Pat Nixon received the pandas officially at the National Zoo, along with Ted Reed, who was then the wonderful man who was then the National Zoo director. I think the pandas, I mean, they are obviously charming. Pandas have been a unique asset for Chinese diplomacy, and they were a great hit in Washington. They still are, as they have been everywhere. I went on with the group from the Beijing National Zoo to various other installations in the United States, including in New York, the Bronx Zoo, and so forth. I certainly expanded my Chinese vocabulary about all sorts of strange beasts and birds and snakes and things, and it was a thoroughly enjoyable interlude.
Is it true the panda had its own plane?
No, well, the pandas had special crates. No, they came in on a regular plane, but they had special crates that had been beautifully designed and decorated by people in Beijing. I think we got the better of that deal. We sent Milton the muskox to China in return, an Alaskan muskox who was in the Beijing Zoo for a while and then died of what was described as hardware disease, which I take it as eating some piece of hardware. Anyway, no, we got, that was a great moment. And it was a smart move on the Chinese that helped to sell the normalization that we were embarked upon.
It's very interesting how things seemingly simple as a panda can really help the overall sentiment and relationship.
Yeah, I think, if you look at the U.S.-China relationship in the broader context over the course of the 2 centuries or so that we've had a relationship, it's been subject to wild swings in public opinion in both countries, but especially in the United States, and many illusions, which then are disappointed and frustrated. Sometimes it produces very strange things. I think I may have mentioned earlier, one of the striking things to me about the opening to China was the extent to which American conservatives found they loved Chinese discipline and regimentation and short haircuts. I wouldn't have predicted that. Small things, Deng Xiaoping putting on a cowboy hat, can take on a significance well beyond their intrinsic significance.